Personally, I think the advantages outweigh the disadvantages of a flat top grill or a griddle. But also, my YouTube channel is only about griddling, so maybe I'm biased, but I'm just gonna try to be honest in this video and just tell you after 4 years of owning one and like 250 videos, what I think the disadvantages are of it. First one would be seasoning. You gotta season a griddle. You don't have to season a grill or a smoker or pizza oven or something like that for that matter. It's like a cast iron pan. You put thin layer of oil down, you burn it off, and you do that 3 or 4 times until you get this nice black finish seasoning. You don't have to do that with other things. Is it hard? No, I don't think it's that difficult. Can you mess it up? Yes, by using too much oil. General rule of thumb, real quick. I have a whole video on this, but I use 2 tablespoons for a 2 burner and 3 tablespoons for a 4 burner. You want to get the oil as thin as possible. That way it burns off and doesn't like pool up and create like thicker areas of seasoning. So thin layer of seasoning, let it burn off. It also takes a good 45 minutes to an hour. So, I think it's worth it, but that's a longer like setup time than you definitely would have with a smoker or a gas grill. Cleaning is another disadvantage. It is a little bit longer. You'll get quicker and quicker at it. It takes me a little less than 5 minutes with some water and paper towels to scrape this down and clean it. But again, compared to a grill or a smoker, I mean, you just shut those off and start eating when you're done. With this, you should probably clean it after each time. Now, if I do something like pancakes or just a couple grilled sandwiches, I'm not super concerned about it. But if you do something like a lot of fried rice or a bunch of meat or bacon and they're stuck on pieces, you really should get the squirt bottle out, turn it to low, squirt it, scrape it all down, wipe it all down, and then put a thin layer of oil on top of your whole griddle. Rust, that's the next one, number 3. Why do you put a thin layer of oil, as I just talked about at the end of cleaning, is because you want to prevent rust. So these can rust. They can get little rust spots. Depends what your comfort level is and what you consider like rust. Like, I'm not talking like fully rusted out. There just might be spots that aren't pitch black. The whole thing on camera, it looks pitch black. There's definitely some spots on here, which I'll show you, that get like a little browner or look like rust. And then also if you leave it out all winter long, it could get like really, really rusty, like full things of rust on here. So, for the most part, I mean, look, your grill's gonna get, rusty and nasty as well on the inside. So it's just kind of cooking outside. This is part of it. But if you're really not okay with that, if you're expecting this to look like a Teflon pan inside, like perfectly smooth, that's possible. I know people that do it, but you really, really got to stay up on the maintenance to do that. The one thing I will say about the rust is that it doesn't ruin it. You just need to get a pumice stone. And even if it's really bad, like my 2 burner was here, you put down oil, you rub it with the pumice stone, which is like a hard little gray stone, and it keeps pulling up all the rust until you wipe that off, and then you can re-season it. So it's not ruined even if it does get rusty. I helped a buddy who bought a 4 burner Blackstone off Facebook for like 70 bucks. I restored that whole thing for him. So you can use a pumice stone, or with that, I took a wire wheel and really stripped the whole thing down because it was somebody else's griddle. So I just wanted to get all of it off for them. That's more time consuming. That's a 2-hour process, where the pumice stone is like an hour process, but it's never ruined, so keep that in mind. But it can get a little rust, and just again, in the interest of being honest, I'm not trying to sell people griddles. I don't own a griddle manufacturer. I just make videos about it and sell ebooks that I wrote. So, but being honest, I just want to make sure this is the right piece of equipment for people. And if you're not comfortable with that, that's something to look out for, rust. But I don't think it's a big deal. I don't think it's a ton of rust. It just could be a little discoloration, and you can always fix it. Rodents, you're gonna have a grease catch here in the front or in the back or underneath. They're all in different spots now that people have got different griddles. And I would say, because of the amount of grease, you do a bunch of bacon or something, it feels like you can attract more rodents. I've heard people having problems with mice, but people also have problems with mice on a grill. I don't know how this would be that much different. I've heard people having mice droppings. I guess maybe that's a little different than the mice droppings being down in the grill, but I mean, they're attracted to food. Raccoons, I mean, it could be whatever. So, you just got to keep your grease catch clean. I don't know if this is necessarily more prevalent in a griddle than a grill, but it is a problem that I've heard of. I had one or two people complain about flies in their food, and I don't know. I was like, I don't know what's the difference between that and a grill. Like, it's hot. Like, they're gonna, maybe because they couldn't close the lid, and they're thinking on the grill you can close the lid, and I don't know. It seemed a little nitpicky to me. I just want to throw it out there because someone said it. It's like, okay, like, sure, you're cooking outside, man. Like, just, it is what it is. But it's not for everybody. So yeah, you can get some rodents, you can get some mice. Definitely mice is very, very common. I've heard of that. But the main thing is keep it clean. Get the grease trap all the way cleaned up, and then you can cover it with your hard cover lid and your tarp. Finally, there's a learning curve in my opinion. Not that grilling or smoking is easy. They both have a learning curve, but so does the griddle. And because it wasn't quite as common residentially, I mean, they're in every commercial kitchen, they're in every diner across the country, and most regular kitchens and cafeterias and schools and retirement communities. But because you didn't grow up with one, you grew up with dad on the grill, maybe even smoked, but probably not a griddle. Unless you worked in restaurants, like I worked at Bob Evans. It's a diner in the Midwest, so I mean that's where I learned most of my stuff. But because of that, there's probably a little more of a learning curve on the griddle than on the grill. Like different cooking temperatures. It's really important to know the cooking temperatures of your surface. Cooking order, because you're not just doing all the meat. You might be doing multiple things at breakfast, like bacon, eggs, potatoes, pancakes. What order do you cook them in? Usually you want to cook the longest thing first and the shortest thing last. So there's a little bit of a learning curve on that. Also, you can't put big, thick pieces of chicken on here. You can put steaks on here. And those will cook real well. I actually think a steak is better on here than on a grill. But if you have a bone in something, because you don't have indirect heat, you're not shutting it down, you're not able to do that. It's a little harder to do that. So there's a little bit of a learning curve. But if you do want to get a griddle, I have a free ebook below that goes over the temperatures that I told you about, which are very important. I recommend getting an infrared thermometer, the cooking order, and 5 beginner free recipes to get you used to starting on the griddle. So if you want that, it's in the link below. It also signs you up for my weekly newsletter with tips and tricks and more free recipes about griddling. So click the link below if you're interested. Hopefully this was a helpful video for you.